I'd like to adjourn today's San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting in honor of Greg Block. Greg passed away last Saturday with his wife Rachel at his side after a courageous, difficult, and very long battle with cancer. Greg had battled it, had come into remission. Earlier this year, we joined him and his family at a soccer game. He looked great and felt great and was doing great. And there's a tremendous heartbreak in watching it return and watching it have the really severe and fatal consequences that it did. For everyone who knew Greg, you knew someone who was the very best of San Diego, someone who loved this community. He loved our institutions. He participated in our civic process. He loved everything about this region. He loved his family. He offered so much. When it returned and the path forward was not in a place of optimism, to visit with him and be able to see him there and have him want to talk about everything that was happening in government and politics in San Diego, to offer his opinions and thoughts and takes, and to watch that continued engagement, even in the really difficult condition he was in and the tremendous strain that was on his family, understanding the reality of his relapse and the lack of available treatment options moving forward, was something that was difficult and challenging, but also in part was inspiring. An individual who knew that his time was coming to an end, still had an interest in his friends, still had such a deep and abiding love for his family, still had great optimism about what San Diego was and in particular what it could be. And San Diego will never be the same without Greg Block, an individual who contributed and meant so much to so many of us. He graduated from San Diego State in 1995. In 2008, he became their Director of Media Relations, advancing their new digital strategy. He was promoted to Chief Communication Officer for the university, but those of us who knew Greg knew he was also Chief Cheerleader for San Diego State University. Someone who loved his Aztecs. I don't think he ever missed a basketball game or a football game. Someone who cared deeply about the role that they played. But he went beyond just his work at San Diego State. He worked in public relations for Berkman Strategic Communications. He worked for the Corky Macmillan Companies. In 2007, Greg became the mayor of San Diego's senior press secretary and public policy manager. He managed communications around several issues, including homelessness, work around transportation. In 2019, he joined his wife Rachel at the public affairs firm. She founded 360 Public Strategies. He brought in clients working on the regional task force on homelessness, in addition to many other endeavors that he embarked on and gave his time towards. In addition to his wife Rachel, Greg is survived by his two children, Benjamin and Georgia. He was a family man in the best sense of the word, and the understanding of commitment of not just quality of time, but quantity of time. Everyone around them knows how devoted he was. He coached Little League softball teams. He encouraged both of his kids to pursue their interest in music. His time being hospitalized and battling cancer was particularly difficult because of the circumstances around COVID-19. Last Father's Day, his friends and family gathered outside his hospital window to be able to show their love and support at a period of great difficulty. And he was a individual who would partake on so many new endeavors. He was learning to play the ukulele. He was researching his family's Russian history. During COVID, he took up a renewed interest in chess. And after long, difficult days going through everything we were doing, I could count at night to text Greg and ask him if he was up for a game of chess. And we would play remotely and virtually on chess.com. He is someone who always had a hot take on what was happening, but an insightful take, a thoughtful take. Someone who was always engaged and relevant and really committed to San Diego. And we are a better town because of his life. I am a better person for having known him. And so we send our deepest condolences to Rachel, his children, and everyone who knew him. I'd like to call on Vice Chair Vargas to add a few words.
I'm going to try. I just wanted to acknowledge both Greg and his family. His loss to our community is a great one. I got to know him mostly because of Rachel, who is just a wonderful, amazing human being, and that's who they both were. They opened their home to all of us constantly, knowing that sometimes politics can get tough and things can get challenging, they always made space for all of us to be there and to join. He was always happy. Even though there were so many people around, he was just so happy to have us there, even if he had worked long hours and worked on campaigns and did so much. But who he was really, when we talk about him being a cheerleader for San Diego State, he really was a cheerleader for kindness and better government and what community really meant to our communities. And so I had an opportunity to share, provide him a proclamation on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all of us about 2 months ago, and I sat in his backyard and we had a conversation about everything and anything, and his family, got to meet his family, and mostly, he was able to hang out with his lovely dogs. It was tough to see him, because it was tough to see someone who has always been so strong and who has been doing so much to see him in that place. But what I want to remember is who he was and what he did for this community, not only for San Diego State, but for our communities as a whole. Always honest, always direct, and always ready to take on the next fight on behalf of the white hats and the good people. And so I want to publicly not only thank him, but thank Rachel and Ben and Georgia for sharing him with all of us. So thank you.
And with that, we adjourn today's Board of Supervisors meeting in honor and memory of Greg Block.